Yikes. There's a glare. It's a little better. That but Shalom. Everybody in Christ's body, right? A lot of us want to take credit, but it is Christ's body. Okay. That's how we be doing it. We getting pretty much into a pattern, right? You jumping Sabbath off a random Sabbath scripture, right? This week, I know we think we knew all the Sabbath scriptures. I bet you I could turn you on to some that you didn't know was Sabbath scriptures, right? Today we're going to do Hebrews 4 and 9, right? Which states, therefore, or there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God, right? That's a nice way to say, hey, this Sabbath ain't done. He still expects us to be keeping it, right? Rest, then would he not afterwards have spoken of another day, right? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of the Most High. Now, see, when you get into the Hebrew, that word is Shabbat. When you dump the English and start reading all of this, in Hebrew, you're not going to be able to help but recognize that word, right? And the same thing with his name, with I am, right? That's how I figured out that he was signing off with his name, right? He give the message and then he signs off with his name. I am the Lord, right? When you reading in the Hebrew, that says a higher. He's going out with his name, right? Let's go even further. Verse 10. For he that is entered into his rest, he also from him works, right? Wow. As the Most High did from his, right? Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest. So it's comparing the week to a whole life, right? You're alive. You know, every man will be judged according to his works. And then he goes into his rest. But the rest is going to be 1,000 years, right? That's a long Sabbath. All praises to a higher. Y'all see that? Right? Let us labor, therefore, to enter in. Let any man fall after the same example of unbelief. Right? So it's comparing your whole life to 1 week. One life, 1 week, synonymous, right? You was born, you did a whole life of work, you went into a rest, right? Same thing with your week. You went to work a whole week, you went into the Sabbath rest. It's comparing that. It's paralleling the two, right? So the same way, if in your week you work and rest, however you choose to work and rest, and then on the Sabbath you resting, right? You out of whack. And that would show your unbelief. You're not keeping a week the way the Most High, the Creator, would have you keep a week, right? That shows your unbelief at the end of that week. Same thing with your life. Same thing with your life. You will show your unbelief, as a person, period. If you work your whole life, you ain't going into that rest either. And you know what I mean? So that's what Hebrews 4 is doing. It's paralleling, your life with the week and having both in, having duration of both be a work. And after the duration of, you go into your rest. Right? And that was Hebrews 4 and 8 through 11. Right? All praises to the Most High. Right? Let's put it in here. Quebec. All right, so Shabath Shala, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, everybody in crisis. But We got a lot of enemies in here this weekend, right? This Sabbath, right? Trying to tune in and bless you. Pray even you also had a blessed week, right? Had a good week. You know, all 22 of y'all. You know, I hope that we can turn your heart to this love, right? And have you repent, you know, for your rogue ways and the ways you dislike and hate and things of this nature. You know, we would really rather have you grow a big heart, you know, and bury your hatchets and not in my back. Don't bury your hatchet in my back. Bury it in the ground somewhere, you know. Have you bury your hatchets, you know, and become of the love, right? Such a much more grand existence, right? Much more grand existence, right? Peace, love, joy, you know. Y'all gotta excuse my little thing. I'm in my this is my third RV right here. I'm hooking it up, you know. Get back to this music, you know. Making a little booth. This is the booth area right here, you know. Uh, thanks to Peasy, right? In the name of the Most High, you know. Uh, Peasy lit a fire up under me. You know what I'm saying? Got to get back to this music. You get that back going. Kind of, let me see. Get back in this book here. Get a precept going. Right. Another one. Isaiah chapter 11. Let's go there. Isaiah chapter 11. Somewhere around verse 10, right? We're gonna go there, grab that real quick. Building with the Busters, Shalawam, Stephanie Hodge, Shalawam, Sister Lee, Shalawam, Jay Hinton, Shabbat Shalawam, Tazadakia, Shabbat Shalawam, Lasonia White, Shabbat Shalawam, right? And everybody who's shy, who don't want to speak yet, Shabbat Shalawam to you too. But let's grab that Isaiah 11, verse 10. And it says, and in that day there shall be a root of Jesse. Right? And Jesse is another one of the forefathers, you know. Uh, he's not spoken of as frequently as the others, but he's in there too, you know. Same bloodline as David, same bloodline as Christ. He's like Christ's uh Christ's dad, Joseph. He's above him, right? He's Joseph's father, Jesse, right? Tribe of Judah, you know what I'm saying? And in that day there shall be a root. You're going to find out that that root that it's talking about is the Sabbath, right? And there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign. What's the sign between us and the Most High? The Sabbath, ain't it? Which shall stand for an ensign of the people. Who are the people? Us. It's saying that, you know, it's a precept of the scripture that says that the Most High Sabbath is a sign between him and us. Right? Let's start it over. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand, remember, right? To stand is like it's not breaking down through time, right? No matter what happens, it's going to stand. What is that? Remember, right? Remember the Sabbath, remember the ensign, right? Stand in the Sabbath, right? And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, right? So the Gentiles are going to latch on to it too, right? It's going to be a part of them realizing who we are in the earth and seeking us. And we see a lot of them do that. They latch on to us. They keep this Sabbath too. Because they are the most high people as well, right? What did Christ say? Let's veer from here and get that, right? Let's veer from here and grab at Matthew 12, right? Matthew 12 and verse 60. It says, "For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother," right? And those are red letters, right? So anybody who doing the will of your Father has the right to be your sister and your mother and your brother, right? My fault, y'all. I don't know how much of it off, but let's read it one more time. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. All praises to the Most High, right? Everywhere you see that word, right? But yeah, how was y'all week? Somebody talk to me. Pop in, hang with y'all for a little bit for the Sabbath. Early because I wanted to hit it again last night, but I didn't get to. So that's my fault. We're gonna pop in early. Pop in early and make it up. Mm-hmm. My fault, my fault. Communication rules the nation real quick. All praises to the Most High. Ran your first 5K, Sister Lee. What's that, 5,000 steps? All praise. It totals to 3.1 miles. All praises. Yeah, that's how much I used to do was 3 miles. Uh this route I used to take, it was 1.5 miles, and I used to go around it twice. So it come out as 3 miles. Shabbat Shalom from Colorado. That's my big ox, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, big ox, right? Zechariah chapter 8, verse 1 through 8. Let's see what you got going there, Jay Hinton. It's more challenging now that I'm older. Yeah, but if you keep at it, age ain't gonna mean nothing. Feel what I'm saying? You know, and you'll know that it ain't got nothing to do with getting older. It's that, you ain't been on it probably, since the last time you was on it. And that's when our momentum dropped. Off of what we doing. I noticed that too. I'm like, man, I'll never get it the way I used to have it. I'll never get it the way I used to have it. And then that was a lie. Because how I used to do it, when I get on that treadmill, I would walk 2-3 minutes, a hot step, walking, and then I'll run 2-3 minutes, and then I'll walk 2-3 minutes, and then I'll run 2-3 minutes. You know what I mean? I have never been able to just silently just go, 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 go. You're right. But that started, at least 7 to 10 minutes at a time. and do a whole mile. You know, I wasn't able to do that. You know, even when I was doing my 3 mile, it would be some walking steps in there. I would have to slow down and get my breath a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But this year, this year, and since I've been trying to recover and all of that, I hit it like this. And I'm running a full mile, no walking steps. And I ain't never been able in my life been able to do that, you know. But I could do it now. Yeah, this thing is determined to want to keep cutting off. I think I'm a little too far. I think I'm a little too far from my Starlink. So it's like it's tripping. It was a change of mindset. It's all in the mind, right? It's all in the mind. The more you're gonna be able to do, once you get your head together, right? But let me see if I could put the scriptures on this other in this other window instead of having to jump tabs, because I think that's what's kicking me out. Because this trailer that I'm in, it's a little distance from the Starlink. So let me go. Hopefully it don't freeze again, right? Uh, Omar Robinson is pulling Wisdom, chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. We're gonna grab those two. Right now, let's grab the Zechariah 8, right? Zechariah 8, 1 through 8. And then let's grab Wisdom, Wisdom 1, 13 through 15. Yep. Got him. Here we go. Zechariah chapter 8. If you want to join in your sword, okay, so let's read. Zechariah chapter 8 from the top. Again, the word of the Most High came to me, saying, Thus saith the Most High, I was jealous, and I was jealous for her with great, I was jealous for her with great fury. 3. Thus saith the Most High, I am returned unto Zion. I will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, and the mountain of the Most High, the holy mountain. Verse 4, thus saith the Most High, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for very age. Right? 5, in the streets of the city shall be full of the boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. 6, thus saith the Most High, if it be a remnant of his people in these days, should it also be marvelous in mine eyes, saith the Most High. Verse 7, thus saith the Most High, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country. 8, and I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. All praises to the Most High. The water for that passage. Thank you for that passage, Jay Hinton. Right? Omar Robinson is pulling out Wisdom, chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. Let's get that. If y'all want to get there, yeah, that Zechariah 8 is cold. It's describing a community, right? In which we long for. Don't we long for that? Oh man, it's natural to kind of long for that. Once you wake up, we want our community back, We don't want to walk out our door to bacon eaters, you know what I'm saying? We want to step out our door and see women and men and old women, right? Hanging out on their porches, you know, doing their thing, on the block, right? All up and down the block, right? That's what this is describing. Back in Jerusalem and in Zion doing this. This is playing in the streets, right? That's community right there. We long for that, right? And the Most High longs for it too, because it starts off saying that I'm jealous. I'm jealous of this, right? I'm jealous for Zion, right? When he's jealous for Zion, that means he's looking at the other nations have this and we don't, right? And I was jealous for her with a great fury, right? So know that about the Most High. He's looking at this current existence and he don't like it either, right? But he's bound by his word, you know. So he threatened it, had to come to pass, and it's coming to pass now, right? And even as he looks at it, he don't like it. And that's why he's going to cheer and be happy when we get everything back and we all, you know what I mean? That's why it's expressing his love and his joy, right? When we get things back together, right? He's going to be happy for us and he's going to cheer with us. That's what it means to be his chosen people, right? And to be the nation that represents him. That means when we dance, he's going to dance. He's going to be happy, right? Thus says the Most High, the Lord of hosts, I was jealous for Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Thus saith the Most High, I am returned unto Zion. I will dwell in the, you know what I'm saying? That he's saying, like, yeah, I know I beat y'all up, but I'm back with y'all, right? I am returned unto Zion, right? And will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, right? We're not the city of truth right now. We're liars, right? We're thugs and thieves and all of this other stuff they want to call us. And he's gonna set that straight, like, nah, these are the only people who truth has ever been in, right? These are the people who I made to create, who I created, to represent what truth is. Not you guys who are, you guys set up a system of liars, right? You guys set up an earth where lying ain't even frowned upon, right? We're in a system right now to lie so easily. So it's like, how are you guys telling me that ain't nothing wrong with, the society when they lie everywhere, right? They'll say something real big on a poster, right? For you to see it from across the street and you can read that. And then they got a whole bunch of little words on the bottom. When if you walk across the street and you could read that fine print on the bottom, it'll contradict what drew you to it, right? They are liars, man. They lie about everything. They lie about stuff that they don't even gotta lie about. That's what kind of nation that we're in, right? And we latch on to that. They taught us how to do that. Right? So put our little sense in, when we create our posters, we do the same thing. We'll put in the big bold print, it's really trying to stop me from saying that. But yeah, you guys are a nation of liars, right? You know, and that we need that in our business to go to, right? We think we need that for our business to flourish as well, right? But in reality, as Zechariah 8:3 says, we are the nation of truth, and we shall be called, the city of truth, which we are not being called the city of truth right now, right? But according to this, it will wind up that way, right? Why? Because the mouth of the Most High has spoken that, right? And the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain, all praises to the Most High. Okay, I hope y'all got to Wisdom chapter 1, right? Wisdom of Solomon, right? Wisdom of Solomon verses chapter 1, verse 13 through 15. For the Most High made not death, neither has he pleasure in the destruction of the living. So, how many of us knew that, right? The Most High made not death, right? He didn't make us to die, right? Sin kills, right? Sin kills. That's why he's so vigorously trying to keep us in the brackets of, you know, safety, which is in the law, right? The straight gate, that thin walkway, with fire on the left and water on deep water on the right, right? Keeping us from falling on either side. That's the law, you know, the gospel, right? For the Most High made not death, neither has he pleasure in the destruction of the living, right? 14, for he created all things that they might have their being, right? And the generations of the world were healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them. So who's poisoning you, right? And they're going to refute me that he made starch. I said the Most High didn't make starch. Starch is killing us. It's breaking down into the granulated sugar, right? This is the proof. There is no poison of destruction in, and it's healthful, right? And the generations of the world were healthful. This is talking about what the Most High created, right? It starts verse 14 saying, for he created all things, right? And all things that he created, right? That they might be, that they might have their being, that they might exist, right? Without no threat of death, right? That they might be, that they might have their being. That's what that means. Reading further, and that the generations of the world were healthful, right? So all of these things that he created, which will have their being, they will be healthful. So if it ain't healthful, what is that telling you? That's telling you that he didn't create it. And there is poison. So if you see poison, come on, man. And there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon the earth. This is a kingdom of death. Look at the hospital. Look at the graveyard, right? Look at all of the institutions that they got to stand up for all of these people who are sick, all of these rehabilitation centers, right? That's what all this is. This is a kingdom of death, right? Pharmacies everywhere, right? Clinics. How you need a hospital and a clinic and an urgent care, right? And a CVS and a Walgreens. Woo. We sick, y'all. This is a kingdom of death right upon the earth, right? And what does 15 say? For righteousness is immortal. So this stuff is unrighteous. And it's mortal. It's killing you. And you know what I'm saying? For righteousness is immortal. So that means it's unrighteous and it's mortal, right? It's wicked and it's killing you, in other words, you know. And now it makes perfect sense why. And I know these brothers is, man, they way wiser than that. And it's like, man, you know, it makes all the sense now. They know that it's true. And they know what I'm saying is true. But see, they playing on another team. They're playing on another team. They want you to get sick, right? They're in cahoots with the people who set all this up, right? They're in cahoots with these people who have set all this up. Why? Because they scared, right? We be scared, y'all. Do they need these people? No, they don't need them. They were doing fine. They gained traction. They came up. right? The money start flowing, the tithes start flowing, right? We charging for the scriptures and this and that. You give it free, so you freely give, but nah, we gonna charge, right? That was rolling, that was flowing. I mean, but they put that squeeze on them, though, right? They put that squeeze on them. They saw what they had going on, and it was like, okay, you know, you gonna either latch on to what we talking about, or else, buddy, you will not stand. And now see, us who really cut from this Hebrew Israelite from this cloth, we say, yeah, you know what you got to do to me, because I'm not stopping this. I'm not rolling over on the Most High. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not misleading my people. I'm not doing none of that, right? But it's only a few people. It's not a lot of people who will choose that like that. And that's what we have to understand, and that's why it's only a remnant of us, because only a few people, will pull, the Eleazar, the Maccabees and say, you got to kill me. I don't want to live under the circumstances, sir, that you're describing. So you just going to have Amaria, Shabbat Shalom, sir. Good to see you, my brother. The Sabbath cast, Shabbat Shalom. There go Ricardo Gonzalez. Shabbat Shalom. D Rich in the building. Shabbat Shalom. My sir. Good to see y'all. A remnant, however, independent and fully given worship and praise to a higher. That's right. That's where we trying to get it at. And we gonna get it there, because there's too many precepts that say that we are. Yeah, I'm getting texts. I know it's tearing me up. I think I'm a little far away. I'm a little too far away from the Starlink, and that's why it keep cutting me off. Con. Marie Bish. Shabbat Shalom, my sister. Yahoo Israel. Shabbat Shalom. What else we got there? Psalm 80, 84, and 11. Let's see what that's talking about. Psalm 84 and 11. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will be withheld from them that walk uprightly. So we got to get out of that mind where we cannot walk uprightly and still expect something, right? We got to get out of that mind. It don't exist. It never is. It. That's still kind of a Christian, belief system, right? You cannot expect, right, all of the things that this Bible is promising if we're not walking uprightly. We have to walk uprightly, fam. Right? That's cool when you first wake up, the first few years, and things like that, while you kind of struggling, trying to get yourself together, right? And things of this nature. But that's got to go out the window. We shouldn't still be leaning on that, and we 5 years in, 4 and 5 years in. We still shouldn't be leaning on that, and doing iniquity, which is sin that we know is sin that we're still doing. You know, knowing that we're doing wrong, and I'm gonna just do this anyway. Why? Because I got grace, and I got this and that. I got this reason and that reason why I'm not gonna stop doing this. Right? No. So when you know what the right thing to do is, let's do it. You know, things we have control over, let's control those things. Why? Because we want to be blessed. You know, we want the Most High to bless us. We want Him to show us His favor, right? And all of these type of things. We want to see. We want to ride on the high places of the earth, right, and be fed with the heritage of Jacob our father, right? As the book of Isaiah says, right? That's why we want to hit levels, right? We want to get out of this hot water that we're in the curses, right? We want to get out of that hot water, man, and we want to wake up every morning and love life all day, right? Because you could get up in a good mood, right? And then the more your day goes on, the more everything just like by 3 o'clock, your nerves is frazzled, right? you know, by 8 o'clock, you like, let me just go to sleep, man. Right? Your peace is ruined by 9, 10, right? No, all day. Imagine waking up in a good mood and going to sleep in a good mood and then waking up again the next day in a good mood. And you know what I mean? Because that's where the Most High is hitting us at. He's hitting us in our moods, y'all. Right? Deuteronomy 28 is telling us that, right? Said, I will smite you with vexation, right? He will smite us with vexation, y'all. That means I will keep you in a bad mood. What does that look like when you have no peace and no ease? Mm, mm, mm. You can answer that for yourself, right? What does that look like? It's ugly, y'all. But yeah, that's 1 hour, y'all. And my connection is tweaking, right? So we're gonna shut this down. Uh and we're gonna chime in later. Let me figure out something. I'm gonna try to get this Starlink closer, and we're gonna go into something else too. If it be the Father's will, and I can make it back in here, I'm gonna come back in again, right? Blessed Sabbath, right? Shalom, brother Ronald, right? Can anyone explain why we must wear towels in our heads? You don't have to. You don't have to wear it, right? But Zechariah 3 and 5, right? This is a fair meat tree. It's called a fair meat tree. right? And when it was time to dress an Israelite, they put a nice garment, right, on Joshua, and they put one of these on his head, right? So the Arabs, yeah, the Arabs stole this from us. Really, the Arab became us when we was gone, when Jacob went under, you know, and they was having fun stealing our style. They even talk like us. How that Arabic sound, that's a lot how the Hebrew sound, how the Hebrew sound. When you catching that spit from the back of your throat, that's the ka, the ka. That's one of our characters, one of our alpha, right? And with the head, I mean, so I remember when I first started wearing these back in about 2012 or so. Uh I walked in the grocery or in the liquor store that I used to always go in every morning. It was on the corner of my block. And I had been going in there for years already. And I knew the dude. We used to laugh and talk while I'm buying what I'm buying at the register real quick. And he looked at me like that, and he was like, his eyes got real big, and he was like, and he dropped what he had in his hand. He had some stuff in his hand. He was working, and he looked, and he bang, he dropped it, right, and he was like, man, and I was like, whoa, and he was like, I was like, nah. He saw the top open and everything, and he was like, "Oh my God, they're back!" Right? He was literally how they say, like he seen a ghost. He was really seeing a ghost, right? Because we lost our heritage and all of that. They never forgot, right? And we know in Psalm 83 that it was a conspiracy that they keep it away from us. So they know they didn't lose history and all of that. That happened to us, right? So yeah, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. The man came apart right in front of me, right? But Shabbat Shalom. I'm gonna do my thing, y'all do y'all thing, and we'll meet back here, right? Sabbath cast. First Peter's 2:9 and 10, right? The royal priesthood. First Peter 2:9. That's what we read on the beginning of royalty, right? With Molly Music, you know. But all praise it to the Most High, y'all. We'll tap back in a little later, right? I'm gonna try to tap back in one more time before we finish this Sabbath out, right? Better bundle up because this world is cold. Calm, Marie Bish. That's right. It's a cold world, right? But Yeshaya is a blanket. Uh, Brother Ronald, my wife makes these and sells them. If you want to go to fringes.net, it's in the description there. I'll put it here for you again too as well. All right, so y'all be blessed. Shalom. I'm gonna catch up with y'all in a little bit.